Hello, friends, and welcome to Book Club. Today we will be talking about Part 1 from Suzanne Collins' Sunrise on the Reaping. I loved the original Hunger Games series. I started reading the books when I was in 7th grade. That was around the time when the last book, Mockingjay, had just come out, so I didn't have to wait very long to read all 3 in a row. I really just had to wait until my local library called me telling me my hold was ready for pickup, but that wasn't very long. I think it was like a couple weeks or something. So I would just finish a book and then all of a sudden my next book was ready at the library, which made it really easy to just kind of move through them. Hunger Games came out in 2008. Catching Fire came out the year later in 2009, and Mockingjay came out in 2010. I would say that the Hunger Games trilogy really brought me into that dystopian novel era, especially since there were so many at the time. Maze Runner, Divergent, Matched, Shatter Me, which I actually think released 2 other books that I haven't read in the series, but the content was endless, okay? The genre was just overpopulated, and as someone who had a lot of time to read and really enjoyed reading, they were just my go-to book. I was in the theater for all 4 of those movies. I really wish they had just made Mockingjay into one movie. It didn't really need to be drawn out like that, but whatever. That's what they did. And I was beyond excited when they released The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Now you have to remember that was during COVID and I was craving entertainment, especially new entertainment, because we were locked in and all I really had access to was, stuff in the house. After finishing The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, I decided to reread the Hunger Games trilogy because I own the books, and then I rewatched all 4 movies. So the last time I really engaged with that content was in 2020, which, oh my gosh, that was 5 years ago. That's insane. Oh, I was also in the theaters when they released the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes movie, which I thought was really good. I really enjoyed that movie, and it was cool to see a Hunger Games movie come out 7 years after that last Mockingjay movie. June 2024 was when the announcement came for Sunrise on the Reaping, which I was not expecting on my 2024 bingo card at all. I thought the prequel was enough, didn't think she was going to keep going. So once they announced that book, shared that to my story saying, please do not bother me on March 18th of 2025. I will be reading. Then I messaged my friend and I was like, you know what? I really just want to know if they're going to release a movie about this. I figured they probably would, but not even 2 hours later of me sending that to my friend, they announced that they were going to make the movie. That was a crazy turnaround time. I was not anticipating that. So I've read the book and I've been marinating my thoughts on the novel, and now 3 weeks later, I'm ready to share my thoughts. The book is sectioned into 3 parts. So part 1, the birthday, let's get into it. Spoilers ahead. Don't you just love how pretty the copy is? Like, I love this purple that she's going with. And it's really nice to see the actual design of the Flint Striker, which we'll talk about in a second. I did get the Barnes & Noble exclusive edition that does have an interview in the back. The interview is like kind of insightful, kind of interesting, but you don't have to get the Barnes & Noble edition. You can get whatever you can get your hands on. I really recommend reading this book. First of all, I was really pleasantly surprised to find out that Haymitch was a Cancer. That's right, the best astrological sign. I agree. No bias here. As established in the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, we know that the reaping ceremony takes place on July 4th annually. Independence Day for us Americans, and Haymitch is the most patriotic citizen, having been born on July 4th. So every year, the reaping ceremony happens on his birthday, which is not a very fun birthday for Haymitch. He's 16.
Wow, just like Katniss.
He's living in District 12 in the Seam.
Wow, just like Katniss.
He has a younger sibling and a single mom.
Wow, just like Katniss.
And he has a guy best friend that he hangs out in the woods with.
Wow, just like Katniss.
And his guy best friend is Katniss's dad.
Wait, what?
Yeah, so pretty soon into the story, we're introduced to Katniss's dad, which I was not anticipating having that character reveal. It's like on page 4 or 5. It's really soon into the book. His name is Burdock Everdeen, and he is described as being a hunter, using a bow and arrow, and having a remarkable voice.
That last song did she said goodbye.
which is something we already knew based on Katniss's account of having learned the Hanging Tree song and also talking about her dad and his singing voice, so that's something we already knew. But now we know his first name. He is cousins with Lenore Dove, who is a Covey girl, and it's established that he's cousins with her through his mother's side. I guess they're distant cousins. So I guess that makes Katniss a distant relative of Covey, which explains why she can sing. I feel like anyone can sing.
She sings absolutely everything. She never stops.
That's so true, Liz. You sing a lot too. Especially during rehearsals.
We all sing. True.
Yeah.
I guess she has like a musical past or somehow related to Lucy Gray. Like that was kind of implied in the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, but I guess now we have like an actual familial connection. So that's cool. Again, like I really didn't care if they were related or not, but I guess Suzanne just wanted to establish that connection. And like I said, I wasn't expecting Katniss's dad to be part of this story, but a lot of characters from the original trilogy are going to make an appearance, and we will get to them later. And at some point we see Haymitch interacting with Katniss's mother as well. Her name is Astrid March.
Astrid.
And she works in the apothecary in town. We already knew that she had been a town girl who had fallen in love with a boy from the seam. That had been established by Katniss herself during the original trilogy. Burdock is already in love with Astrid. I feel like they're already dating. And Haymitch says, town girls don't marry seam boys, not unless something really goes haywire. So is Haymitch implying that Astrid got pregnant and they had a shotgun wedding? Or that she was so in love with Burdock that she said, screw the town. I'm gonna go move into the seam. It's cool. On another note, naming these characters feels really weird. Like, I just want to say Katniss's mom, Katniss's dad, not Burdock and
Astrid.
I just wasn't expecting to get background on Katniss's parents during this story. So as mentioned before, Lenore Dove Baird, sound familiar, is the love of Haymitch's life. And she's hinted at the beginning as being the daughter of Maud Ivory from the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. But Maud died giving birth to Lenore Dove. Her father is also a mystery. And again, later on in the story, it sort of foreshadows that Maud Ivory had fallen in love with a peacekeeper and then was shunned when she got pregnant. And so, yeah, that's why the father isn't present. And Lenore Dove is raised by her uncles, Tam Amber and Clerk Carmine. Not blood related. They are not Bairds, but she is. And because Lenore Dove is Covey, she is very musical. And so she's singing throughout the novel. She's singing all of these dangerous songs.
Never gonna give you up, never gonna let you down.
Like all the Covey, music is in her blood, but not like them too. Less interested in pretty melodies, more in dangerous worlds. The kind that lead to rebel acts. The kind that got her arrested twice. So Haymitch is head over heels for this girl, which is really interesting to his character because that's not something we see from him in the original trilogy, like this overwhelming amount of love for a person. And you wouldn't expect Haymitch to be motivated so much by love, but that's his strongest motivator throughout this entire novel. It's Haymitch's birthday, and he's meeting with Lenore Dove, the love of his life, and Lenore gives him a flint striker for his birthday. And that's what we see on the cover of the book. It's with this snake, and it's with this, I think it's described as I think it's a mockingbird. Or it's a mockingbird or it's a mockingjay. I don't remember. In the book, it just says long-necked bird, so...
Boy, if you'll get your long palm tree neck ass back, old big goat slurpy straw.
I don't think there's a distinction, but, you know, snake and bird. Haymitch also wants to do something nice for Lenore Dove, so he goes into town, into the Donner's sweet shop, and he buys a little white paper bag of multicolored gumdrops, Lenore Dove's favorite. At the reaping ceremony, Haymitch has about 20 slips of paper in the reaping jar. He has been adding additional slips due to taking on the tesserae for both his mom and his little brother. The tesserae gets you a ration of tinned oil and a sack of flour marked courtesy of the Capitol for one person, collectible each month at the Justice Building. In exchange, you have to put your name in the reaping an extra time for each tesserae that year. So Haymitch currently has 20 in this jar. And the reader is reminded that this is the second quarter quell. So instead of 24 tributes, they're going to reap double the amount of tributes, and there will be 48. 2 girls and 2 boys from each district. So this year's gonna be exciting for sure. Woo! So the Effie equivalent in the story, the person who's leading the reaping ceremony, is a woman named Drusilla Sickle, a plastic-faced woman who escorts our tributes to the Hunger Games each year. I have no idea how old Drusilla is, but she's been showing up in District 12 since the first quarter quell. So the reaping ceremony begins and Drusilla says, "Ladies first," and she pulls Luella McCoy. Luella is 13 years old and one of Haymitch's neighbors in the seam. Haymitch also endearingly refers to her as Sweetheart. She is the first Sweetheart, so every time that you go back and read Sweetheart being said to Katniss, he's thinking about Luella as well. When she was 5 and I was 8, she decided she was my sweetheart and trailed after me, telling anyone who'd listen. It lasted about a week. Then she transferred her affects to a boy named Buster, who gave her a bullfrog. "Buster, what are you doing giving Luella a bullfrog? What the heck?" Next, Maisie Donner is reaped. Remember the Donner Sweet Shop? Maisie has a twin sister, and they're both town girls. So it's kind of a shock when Maisie is reaped just because she should only have her name in that bowl 4 times. So her odds were pretty good, and the fact that she was reaped just sucks. I mean, it sucks for anybody, but you get what I'm saying, right? Like, the odds should not have been against her. Anyone can get reaped. Just like when Prim literally only had 1 slip of paper in there.
It's your first year, Prim. Your name's only been in there once. They're not gonna pick you.
Primrose Everdeen.
Haymitch also doesn't like her very much, just because she was mean to him in school and gave him a nickname, Itchy Itchy Hey Mitchy, that stuck for a while, so he is just not a big fan of her. He's also relieved that the girls are done and Lenore Dove was not reaped. He's very, very relieved to know that she'll be around another year. For the boys, Wyatt Callow is called first, and it sucks because he is, just shy of his 19th birthday of aging out of the reaping ceremony. He's already working in the mines as well. He had dropped out of school, so another seam kid too. And then the second boy is called, and it's not Haymitch. If you're a reader, at this point, you're like, wait, I thought Haymitch is going to the Hunger Games. His name wasn't called. What happens? His name is Woodbine Chance, and we don't know much about him other than that he's a young child, I think around 12 or 13. And then that chapter finishes out really quick with Woodbine booking it towards the woods. He is just flying, and people are trying to block the peacekeepers from getting at him. And then one of the peacekeepers shoots him in the back of the head. Guys, we are so back. Side note, we also see a quick glimpse of Peeta's father, Otho Mellark. Some of these names I'm gonna butcher, and Otho Mellark isn't even a bad one. He's described as a big lug of a guy whose folks own the bakery. So it's only a couple sentences dedicated to Peeta's dad, but he's there too, don't forget. Actually, you can completely forget that. It is not relevant whatsoever. So after that, the camera feed cuts. Drusilla is freaking out. I guess there's a 5-minute delay for incidents like this. The crowd is very alarmed at what just happened. Woodbine's mother is crying over his dead body. Haymitch is looking around for Lenore Dove, and then he sees her trying to console Woodbine's mother. And Drusilla's like, "Get him out of here, get him out of here." And the peacekeepers are trying to pull him away. One of them is about to smack Lenore Dove with their rifle, and Haymitch runs over and shields her. He gets whacked in the head, probably has a concussion, but we're gonna ignore that for a little bit. And then the peacekeepers handcuff him, and because they don't have a second tribute, Haymitch gets voluntold, "You're gonna have to go to the Hunger Games this year. Should have thought twice before protecting your girlfriend, buddy." So then they place him as a plant towards the front. Drusilla scribbles his name on a piece of paper that she plants into the bowl and then strategically picks out, Haymitch Abernathy. And he is like, "Okay, I guess I'm going." No fight in him. He is just like, I saw what happened if I tried to run, so we're not gonna do that. And the reason why Lenore Dove isn't shot, because Drusilla's like, "Hey, just get everyone out. Kill anybody who gets in your way." And then our man, our myth, our legend, Plutarch Heavensbee shows up. He's the camera cinematographer for District 12. So he steps in and he's like, wait. Because we're gonna use Haymitch as our second boy tribute, I really need a tearful goodbye, and I think she'll give me that. So let her live. We can deal with it later. Just let me capture that goodbye. Which Lenore doesn't give him. Lenore is like very straight faced. She's just like, "No, I'm not being a pawn in the Capitals games. I'm not gonna do that for them." So yeah, Haymitch finds himself as the 4th and final tribute for the second quarter quell. Happy birthday, Haymitch! Due to the chaos of the reaping ceremony, Drusilla doesn't allow the tributes to say goodbye to their families, and then again, Plutarch has to step in and be like, I don't have enough reaction shots. Come on. Let me get them saying goodbye to their family members. It'll be really great for the Capitol. And so Haymitch and Luella get to say goodbye to their families, and Haymitch hands the bag of gumdrops that he bought for Lenore, and he said, hey, Sid, who's the younger brother of Haymitch, please give these to Lenore Dove. And Sid's like, yeah, I will. Very similar to Katniss. This was Sid's first reaping ceremony. Parallels. It's just all parallel. The parallels are paralleling. So after the goodbye, Haymitch and Luella are rushed back onto the train. And as the train is leaving District 12, Haymitch spots Lenore Dove up on a ridge, and she's holding the bag of gumdrops, and she's just wailing her sadness and her rage and her heartbreak into the wind. And Haymitch pounds on the glass of the train, and they're like, at least the Capitol didn't get to see our heartbreak. It's only for us. I guess they really do love each other like all fire. So on the train, they are served sandwiches, which really sets Maisley off for some reason. She's just like, don't you have any plates or silverware in the Capitol? And the attendant, Tibby, is just like, they're just sandwiches. People normally eat them with their hands. And then Maisley snaps back and she's like, without a napkin? And then Tibby looks over at Plutarch and he's like, are they allowed to have napkins? And then Plutarch's like, yeah, go get some. Maisley uses this as a lesson for Luella for some reason. Listen, Luella, if you let them treat you like an animal, they will. So don't let them. They also don't have any mentors right now because Lucy Gray Baird is a mystery to District 12. They don't know what happened to her, and they don't know much about her anyway. So the mentors are going to have to come from victors not tapped to oversee their own district. While on the train, they watch the footage of the reaping, and the footage has been altered so you don't see Woodbine's murder at all. It just goes seamlessly from Drusilla calling Wyatt and then calling Haymitch's name. The train attendants also bring out a birthday cake for Haymitch, and Haymitch refuses. I mean, it's pineapple filling. I totally get. He probably doesn't even know what a pineapple is. Tibby's like, but it's pineapple filling. And Haymitch is like, okay, I totally get it. I'm not a fan of pineapple upside down cake either. You do you, Haymitch. Then later, Maisley absolutely reads Drusilla and then gets bitch slapped across the face. And then Drusilla whips out a riding crop and then just starts whacking Maisley, which is crazy. The pure hatred that Drusilla has for District 12, it's like, why do you continue to do this job? You're very old. Retire. And later on, we learn that Maisley is actually the owner of Katniss's Mockingjay pin, which was made by Tan Amber, the same person who is Lenore Dove's uncle, and he's also the one responsible for creating Haymitch's Flint Striker. And Maisley is a material girl. And she has a lot of necklaces. She sees the Flint Striker, which Haymitch fashioned into a necklace, and she's like, let me see. And he's like, no. She's like, fine, whatever. She admits not even liking the Mockingjay pin. She's like, I wish he had made it into a butterfly instead of a Mockingjay. Mockingjays are ugly. And like I said, Maisley is a twin sister, and her twin sister's name is Merrily. And I'm going to assume that Merrily is the mother of Madge, who was in Katniss's book. And if you don't remember Madge, then shame on you. They completely wiped her character from the movie, and they had Katniss find the pin in some black market. But no, Madge gives Katniss the Mockingjay pin after she's been reaped. And so, because Madge has the Mockingjay pin, I'm figuring her mother is Merrily. Justice for Madge. She should have been a character. While everyone is sleeping that evening, Luella tells Haymitch that she wants to be his ally, but not Wyatt's ally, because he's a Booker boy, and they take bets on goings-on like dogfighting or mayor appointments or who's gonna lose in the Hunger Games, and she's just not a fan of how notorious they are, and she just does not want to get involved with them. Which Wyatt overhears because it's a small train car, like everyone can hear everything. Even if you whisper, people are gonna hear you. So I don't know why Luella thought she was saying that in confidence to Haymitch and Haymitch alone. The next day, when they arrive in the Capitol and they're seeing other tributes come from their train car, Wyatt goes off and gives the odds for those tributes, which surprises Haymitch, Luella, and Maisley. And he's like, I'm not a Booker boy, I'm an odds maker. I determine the odds of an event people are betting on, that's all. My family are the Booker boys, they take the bets. So they arrive in the Capitol, and Haymitch makes a comment about the dryness of the air. And according to this map from the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes movie, It looks like the capital is probably in the Utah and Wyoming area, which is a wild place to put the capital. I really didn't think it was there, but I guess we officially know that the capital is like Mormons now. Also, notice how Florida doesn't exist. Anyway, so then they are taken to the tribute center where they are strip searched, bathed in incesticides, and dressed and styled for the parade of tributes. So Haymitch meets Proserpina. Is that how you say her name? Proserpina? And Vetus. Vetus. Is it Proserpina? Is that her name? Proserpina. Proserpina. Like pro snake. Proserpina. Okay. So Haymitch meets Proserpina and Vetus, his prep team, who are students at university being graded for their performance. Magno Stift is their main stylist, but he is a bit of a lunatic obsessed with reptiles. He arrives very late into the styling process and he just kind of gives them these ugly miner overalls, smelly black miner overalls held together with safety pins, and cheap plastic coal miners' hats and work boots. There's also some clear hostility between Drusilla and Magno, and we later learn that's because they're married. So this next part felt a little rushed to me, and I didn't fully register what was going on because it was happening so fast, but I guess that's the point of the scene. So they get into the chariot for the parade of tributes, and then along the route, someone launches a firework that spirals in front of their chariot and explodes, which freak the horses out. So the horses start booking it down the parade route, and they pass District 11 and District 10, and they are racing down the route. And then District 6's chariot has spiked wheels or spikes coming out of the wheels. So as soon as District 12's chariot pulls up to them, it like collides, and Haymitch reaches for Luella to try to shield her, and it sends them flying through the air. And then Luella dies on impact, and it's sad. Bad way to go, but she didn't have to endure the Hunger Games, so sorry, Luella. You will be missed. And Haymitch, not wanting the Capitol peacekeepers to take Luella away, he scoops her up and then he starts booking it down the rest of the parade route to get to President Snow's mansion. Once he arrives in front of the mansion and Snow is looking directly at him from the balcony, Haymitch puts down Luella, gestures to him, and begins to applaud, giving credit where credit is due. Ballsy. And the Capitol people notice this as well, and they want to start sponsoring him just because it's such a ballsy move. Once they return to the stables, a boy from District 3, Ampert, approaches Haymitch. And he is 12. Wow, just like Sid. So Ampert is a pretty bright kid, and he brings up his dad, which is foreshadowing. And Ampert wants to form a new alliance that will rival the Careers. And he asks Haymitch to be part of that alliance. Later, the 3 District 12 tributes are brought back to their lodgings where they meet their mentor, Wyrus. Oh yeah, remember Wyrus? Throwback! So Wyrus is the winner of the previous Hunger Games, number 49, where she basically hid until everyone was dead. Same girl, same. No, it was more sophisticated than that. Her arena was basically a bunch of mirrors, and she figured out how it worked by following the light beams. She was smart. It's just to say that she was smart and she figured it out and no one else did. And she avoided the bloodbath until it was just her and a boy from District 6. And then she finally revealed herself because she had been hiding using the mirrors. Not even the game makers could figure out where her exact location is because she would get gifts from sponsors and they wouldn't get to her at all because even the mirrors confused them. But she stands up and District 6 boy sees her, and then he lunges at her or like throws himself at her where he thought she was, but she was actually somewhere else based on the mirror, and then he cracks his head open and drowns in the lake. That's what it says. So she got out alive without murdering anyone and without a scratch on her. So Haymitch is thrilled that she is his mentor. There was another mentor too, and that mentor was Mags. Hey, remember Mags from Catching Fire? Everybody remember Mags? Sweet old lady. Well, in this book, she's still old. I would say that she's probably in her mid to late 40s in this book, but she's very comforting to Haymitch after Luella's death, and she feeds him ham hock soup, which is District 12 funeral food. The next morning, Mags essentially asks the three of them how they want to die in the arena. She poses it as, what do you want? But it really means like, how do you want to die? And so Haymitch doesn't want his family to see him have a slow, prolonged death. And Wyatt agrees he wants a fast death so that people don't make money off of him dying a slow death if that's what they bet on. And then Maisley says that she doesn't want to beg for her life. She wants to go out with her head held high. And Haymitch adds to that point, I want to remind people I'm here because the Capitol won the war and thinks that 50 years later, this is a fair way to punish the districts. But I'd like them to consider that 50 years is enough. Fat chance, Haymitch, fat chance. You know, you were ahead of your time. What a revolutionary you are. So Wiress gives the tributes some advice. First, avoid the slaughter, get weapons, look for water, find food and where to sleep, fire and friends can keep. I don't know, that's just how I sang it every time. First, avoid the slaughter, get weapons, look for water, find food and where to sleep, fire and friends can keep. Something like that. Then they head back to the tribute center where training begins. Maisley and Haymitch go to the knife throwing section where they meet with some District 7 people. And then all of a sudden, Panache from District 1 just like punches Haymitch in the gut, I think with a sledgehammer. So he sledgehammers Haymitch in the gut. And then he's tased by peacekeepers, Panaches. And Haymitch is like, okay, I don't know what that was for, but cool. Nothing's broken, by the way. He's all good. But anyway, Plutarch, who's there filming everything, comes over and he's like, why didn't you fight back? Which he's actually asking Haymitch, why didn't you fight back in District 12? You know, why do you submit to the Capitol's punishment? And Haymitch is like, because they can kill us. And Plutarch's like, fair enough, I guess. Then Haymitch introduces Maisley and Wyatt to Ampert and tells Ampert, hey, we're gonna be part of your alliance. Maisley then braids Ampert a necklace, and that's actually her special skill. So anyone in the alliance can go up to Maisley and be like, hey, can you braid a necklace for me to wear this specific item in the arena as my token? And so that's what Maisley does for most of training. She just like braids stuff. And then Ampert tells Haymitch, hey, my father wants to meet you. He's at the booth with the potato. And any guesses who Ampert's dad is? Any guesses? Anyone? Anyone? Bueller? Ampert's dad is BT from District 3. Everyone remember BT from Catching Fire and Mockingjay? Everyone remember BT? So the Capitol reaped Ampert, a victor's son, and forced BT to mentor his own son to death. This was to punish BT for sabotaging the Capitol communication system. They couldn't kill him because he was such a prominent figure in District 13 and just like all over Pan Am, but they could certainly send his son to death, which is what they're gonna do. Beatty then shows Haymitch how to make a potato lamp, and then they talk about how to destroy the arena, which is like, they're doing double talk right now. Like they're talking about lighting up a potato, but also destroying the arena at the same time. It's pretty crazy. And BT basically confirms that, you know, Ampert's in on this plan and he wants to destroy the arena as well. It's the only choice. It's the only chance that Ampert lives. So the plan to create an alliance that rivals the careers is going pretty well. So far, Districts 3, 7, 8, 10, and 12 are all on board with this alliance, and they name themselves the Newcomers. After training, a van pulls up, and it's Plutarch, and he's like, hey, Mitch, you gotta get in here. Your schedule has changed from everyone else's. Let's just go to my house. So they go to the Heavensbee family home where they have like all the portraits of the different Heavensbees up on the walls. And Plutarch takes him to the library and the conservatory, which is basically the greenhouse. And while they're in the greenhouse, President Snow just walks in. Somehow he's there and he just walks into the conservatory, but he is not looking well. He's clearly unwell, perspiring and breathless and white as a sheet, his regal bearing abandoned as he hunches over his gut. For once, despite the cosmetic treatments, he looks his 58 years. President Snow was 8 years old when it was the first Hunger Games. So the reason that Snow is in this state is likely because he's just poisoned someone and ingested the poison himself to seem more trustworthy. And poison is a women's weapon, so you sneaky bitch. Plutarch is obviously startled by the state of President Snow, so he leads him to sit down and he's like, oh, we should get you a doctor. And Snow says, no doctor, milk.
He needs some milk.
So Plutarch sends Haymitch into the kitchen to go find a bottle of milk. Haymitch is in there, he finds the fridge, he stares at the milk and he's like, I'm gonna show President Snow. And then he chugs the milk. Instead of like pouring it down the sink or anything, he chugs it, he's like, and then he wipes off his milk mustache and he's like, ha, that'll show Snow. Man, I hope that boy isn't lactose intolerant. So Haymitch comes back into the room and he says, it's empty. And Plutarch gives him a look that says like, You little shit. I had my servant go to the store just yesterday and that bottle was full when I had my Lucky Charms this morning. He doesn't say that, but the look says it all. And so Plutarch's like, oh, I'm gonna go find some milk. So Plutarch runs out of the room to go find some milk, maybe a cow, I don't know. And then Haymitch is left alone with like a very sickly Snow. And Plutarch comes back with the milk rather quickly, which is like, you got a secret milk stash somewhere? And Snow drinks it and recovers. Then Snow is all interested in Haymitch and he's like, what a nice little necklace you got there, which is his flint striker. And he asks to look at it and Haymitch reluctantly gives it back over. Snow's looking at it and he's like, oh, an inscription, which Haymitch didn't know there were words on the flint striker. He's like, oh, really? 4H. I love you like Allfire. LD. So Snow asks Haymitch, where did you get this? He's like, oh, I got it from my girlfriend Lenore. And Snow has already figured out that this girl is Covey, so he's like, wait, don't tell me. Her second name has to do with a color. Daffodil? Dandelion?
A dandelion must be the last one this season.
All right, you got me. What's her color? And then Haymitch replies, Lenore Dove. Haymitch is like, well, she loves me. And Snow is like, bro, trust me, I am doing you a solid by killing you in these games. Like, bro, you do not want to get involved with a Covey. You hear what I'm saying? I'm trying to save you, brother. I'm trying to save you by killing you. I'm doing you a solid. With you out of the picture, Lenore Dove and your family should be free to enjoy long and happy lives. And then all of a sudden, President Snow goes off on this tangent about like all the ways that Haymitch could die in the arena and that he's going to personally orchestrate Haymitch's death. And Haymitch is like, okay. And then Snow just like says, you can come out now, to empty space. And they all turn around and standing in the doorway is Luella McCoy. Gasp. Dun dun dun. Anyway, that's the end of part 1. Suzanne really ends it on a little cliffhanger right before the next chapter. So that was my recap of part 1 of Sunrise on the Reaping. What are your thoughts so far? We're gonna come back and review part 2, so stay tuned for that. Excited to talk about all of the Luella developments and then also the interviews and getting started with the Hunger Games as well. What do you think about Suzanne bringing back all of these characters from the main trilogy and giving them more background? What do you think about that? And then what do you think of younger Haymitch so far? Do you feel like he lived up to what you thought younger Haymitch would look like, or is his character a little bit different than what you thought? I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comments below. I'd love to get a discussion going, and remember to tune in for part 2. Bye!